Okay, I can't do this anymore. Is Graham literally calling Bernie less of a Jew for not going to Israel 8 times in 1 year? I mean, dude, the mind of a Christian Zionist, man. So cute, my little Hasanito. Yeah, here's what Bernie Sanders had to say on the Senate floor.
This Act and the Arms Export Control Act are very clear. The United States cannot provide weapons to countries that violate internationally recognized human rights or block U.S. humanitarian aid. Let me repeat that, because that is the essence of this entire debate, not complicated. The United States government cannot provide weapons to countries that violate internationally recognized human rights or block U.S. humanitarian aid. That is not my opinion. That is what the law says. Madam President, according to the United Nations, according to much of the international community, according to virtually every humanitarian organization on the ground in Gaza, Israel is clearly in violation of these laws. Under these circumstances, it is illegal for the United States government to provide Israel with more offensive weapons. These joint resolutions of disapproval are Congress's tool to enforce the law, and that is exactly what we must do.
Debate on the Senate floor is live. I know, but
it is damaging because of our connection to Israel through military arms, our advocacy and legitimacy, campaigning for human rights around the world. So I ask you, what do you do when a good friend, a partner, heads off on a disastrous course? President Biden and his team responded by providing proposals and encouragement to get back on course, but those were rejected. So now we must weigh in here in this chamber. And many in this chamber may say, let's just continue the past. Let's not see the horrific circumstances in Gaza. Let's not observe the systematic takeover of the West Bank. Let's ignore all that and continue with this very different right-wing government without ever raising an eyebrow.
By the way, this off-ramp that they're utilizing to talk about how this is all on, Benjamin Netanyahu and this like far-right fascist government in Israel that we shouldn't align ourselves with. This off-ramp should have been taken on like October 15th, 2023, right around the time when Joe Biden went to Israel and bear-hugged Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay? That would have been the smart and sound decision, both for America's foreign policy interests and also for the humanity, all the victims of Israel's violence. Okay? That's what's crazy about it, is that like even this off-ramp that they're taking, which would still, benefit Israel, really. Like liberal Zionism in this circumstance benefits the current standing of Israel's apartheid. And I said this for months. But it blows my mind that it took them this long to even fucking start saying it like this.
And security realized, and my vote today supports that vision. Thank you.
President.
Senator from Nevada.
Thank you, Madam President. Since Hamas
Supports
launched the
that
deadliest terrorist attack in Israel's history more than a year ago, Israel has consistently faced a barrage of threats from Iran and its terrorist proxies. Earlier this year,
yeah, J Street also came out in support of it, and J Street is a liberal Zionist institution, so this was actually kind of new for them as well. If you recall, in the early months of October, J Street was literally pressuring Congress members to not say a single fucking thing about Israel that is a negative. Okay? It's pretty crazy.
Iran and its terrorist proxies to continue.
It's crazy
and
how
even
much things have
increase
changed, is what I mean.
their vicious and deadly attacks. In doing so, they could prolong this war even further at a time when we are close to securing a deal in Lebanon. I know some on my side of the aisle are going to support these resolutions because they disagree with the current Israeli government. But your decision whether or not to help Israel defend itself and cannot be a political one. Government leaders and politicians, well, they come and go, but our commitment to Israel's security must be ironclad and restricting much-needed arms to Israel because you don't agree with everything the current government is doing will leave our ally vulnerable to future terror. I'll repeat, governments and leaders come and go. Will our support for our ally remain?
Jackie Rosen, $1.3 million
Israel
from
has an
AIPAC, by
absolute
the
right
way.
to defend itself, and the aid provided by America is critical. I know some of you are planning
Ding,
to
ding,
vote
ding.
for these resolutions agree, but you may be worried about the need for these offensive weapons that the resolutions would block, so let me explain. Israel cannot rely on missile defense alone to protect its citizens. It also needs to have the ability to destroy enemy threats before they can be deployed and to respond to attacks that have already been launched. It's this strategy that Israel successfully executed over the last few months in Lebanon, where it has preemptively destroyed Hezbollah rocket launchers just minutes, moments before they were set to fire on Israel. And by providing Israel with these weapons, which are more precise and more accurate, we can
In
actually
baby
help
murder.
it
She's like, we got to keep giving Israel these weapons so they can do better baby murder, guys. Come on, please.
know many of you here are torn. You want to do the right thing. And I'm here to tell you that voting against these resolutions is the right thing. Banning the sale of arms will hurt Israel. It'll send the wrong message to Iran and its terrorist proxies that America is abandoning its ally and that terrorists can now act with impunity. Let me repeat. The message to terrorists will be, again, that they can continue to act with impunity. Terrorists like Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and others will continue to...
Yeah, the message is like, it's got the same exact energy as the Fox News article. It's like, no, you don't understand. They're terrorists. They're terrorists. They're terrorists. They can't be reasoned with. They must be fucking brought to heel. You don't understand. It's logical to do a preemptive genocide because if we don't do that, if we don't let Israel do that with our weapons, even if it is in direct violation of international rights, it doesn't matter, you know? It doesn't matter. They're terrorists. Like, they're going to kill everybody. They're going to kill everybody.
Madam President.
Senator from Idaho.
Madam President, I rise in opposition to the resolutions that we have before us. For 76 years, and by the way, I agree and associate myself with remarks from my friend colleague from Nevada, and not so much with my colleagues from Vermont and Oregon. I respect them individually. I am in opposition to these resolutions before us, and I want to speak for a few minutes as to why. For 76 years, the United States has stood with the State of Israel, our strongest ally in the Middle East. But today, members of this body are sending a message that United States support for Israel is in question. It is not. This comes after a difficult year during which this administration has egregiously undermined Israel's ability to defend itself as it fights a several-front war against Iran and our common enemies. The administration has withheld weapons and ammunition, has issued National Security Memorandum 20, which has held Israel to arbitrary standards and interfered in Israel's domestic politics, all in an effort to placate the far left of the Democratic Party during our own domestic elections. Today, instead of acknowledging that American support for Israel is still strong, these resolutions seek to say that support for Israel has changed. It has not. I know these resolutions will fail, and I hope the world will hear me when I say that the people of America support Israel, full stop. But I think it's important to remember how we got here. This administration foolishly thought we could get along with Iran and beg the Iranians to talk. When the Iranians refused, the administration released billions of dollars in frozen assets in an effort to buy the Iranians off. Meanwhile, the administration reversed U.S. sanctions policies that had cut off the flow of money to the Iranians. The Iranian ghost fleet, which Tehran uses to evade sanctions,
Sorry, I'm screenshotting shit.
From under 80 ghost ships moving oil to now over 300 ships. Awash with money and knowing the administration would not challenge Iranian bad behavior, Iran knew it could start this war in Gaza without consequences. Rather than focus on Iran's behavior, these resolutions before us today are the predictable evolution of the administration's horrible and failed policies that seek to both appease critics of Israel and isolate the Jewish state in the international community at a time of its greatest need. The departure from the regular process for moving arms sales and the administration's repeated threats to halt assistance to Israel invited these resolutions that are not.
Do you feel like you have a ban incoming with all these news articles and pressure? No, because it's not fucking real. What are you talking about? It's not like, no, not even a little bit. It, one, doesn't change the dynamic even a little bit. And two, it's Fox News has written articles about how much of a fucking terror lover I am, regardless. Like, it's never changed anything. America is more of a Jewish state than Israel by proportion of global Jewish diaspora, but we're not the apartheid majority here, so I guess it doesn't matter. Also, American Jews and their wishes don't fucking matter in this conversation at all, because if we were doing this for Judaism or to defend American Jews or whatever, which is fucking ridiculous dynamic to begin with, J Street revealed a new poll like a week ago where American Jews, 72% of them want fucking a halt in weapons transfers to Israel, dude. The fuck? You think that the American government gives a fuck about American Jews? Fuck no. They don't give a shit. That's why I said, literally, if every single American Jew tomorrow was like, I'm an anti-Zionist, okay, which would never happen regardless, because, you know, you got Orthodox and very, very conservative super pro-Israel Jewish people in America, but like, let's say 99.9, if not 100% of all American Jews were like, fuck this shit. We don't want weapons to be sent to Israel, not in our name. What the fuck are you doing? America would be like, yeah, shut the fuck up. Yeah, we're going to keep doing that, big dog, okay? It's so stupid. And I've said that over and over again. How did Fox News not bring up, are you constantly downplay the threat of terror babies? I know. This has nothing to do with Judaism at all. Okay? This has nothing to do with Judaism. This has nothing to do with American Jews. Their opinions on this bear very little. Okay? They'll use Jewish people as a defense mechanism to cynically say like, oh, we're doing this for Jews. It's like, and then Jewish people are like, no. Okay. Are you prepared to catch a stray from Greg Doucette because of your Dr. Mike affiliation? Yes. Yeah, I retweeted this photo of me looking hot and sweaty. And then I posted some of the best quotes from the Fox News article. How I felt reading all that. I don't feel comfortable placing blame on a violent settler colony that has killed and displaced tens of millions of Palestinians on Palestine. I don't feel like it's an appropriate I don't feel like it's appropriate to lay the blame in the hands of anyone that is resisting against their own brutal occupation. During an April 18th stream, Piker expressed that Hamas was the lesser evil next to the Israeli military. Hamas, unironically, is the lesser evil of the two, the streamer said. If you look at the civilian casualties, if you look at the civilian deaths versus the deaths of soldiers, Hamas's percentages are infinitely better than Israel. That's just facts. So no, Hamas is the lesser evil. Oh, Lindsey Graham. Israel.
I've been
Israel's
to the
number
region
one defender.
7 or 8 times since October the
Israel.
7th. I went with a group of 5 Republicans
You
and
went
5
8
Democrats
times since October 7? 8?
to deliver 2 messages. Went to Saudi Arabia, the biggest power in the Islamic world, and I went to Israel. And to our friends in Israel, I said, we will give you, at least from my view, the ability to make sure there is no second Holocaust. And the weapons we provided to Israel has resulted in the destruction of Hamas. There is no way forward for the Palestinians until you reform the PA, which is run by a bunch of corrupt old guys, and make sure Hamas never comes back. The most radicalized population on the planet are young people in Gaza. From the time they're born to the time they die, they're taught to hate and kill the Jews. Look at their education system. How do we change that? Somebody other than Israel has to come in and take over Gaza and reform the West Bank to give the Palestinians a better life. It will not be the United States. We can't do that. It's certainly not going to be Israel. Well, who would it be? It'd be the Arab world. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has a vision for his country and the region that I buy into. We've had our problems in the past for sure. But women can drive, which is a big thing, even though it doesn't sound like it. Women can go out to dinner without a male escort. Doesn't sound like a big thing, but it really is. 38% of the people working in Saudi Arabia are young women. So he has a vision to change his country and to build on the Abraham Accords. President
Glaze.
Trump, in his
Glaze.
was able to get 6 Arab nations to recognize Israel, the United Arab.
I like that he said the PA, which is a part of the Israeli security apparatus, is run by a bunch of corrupt old guys. But Saudi Arabia, which is a theocratic monarchy, is actually the beacon of prosperity in the region.
Going over to Saudi Arabia and Israel, working with the Biden administration to try to build out the Abraham Accords. And the big prize would be have Saudi Arabia,
Israel,
make peace with Israel,
Israel,
take over Gaza and the West Bank with other people in the region, and give the Palestinians a better life, rebuild Gaza, create honest government to replace corrupt government, give them sovereignty, self-government, the ability to live dignified lives, and to give Israel security. October the 7th was designed by Hamas to stop what was imminent. I'm here to tell you that in October, before October the 6th, by the way, there were discussions about how to roll out the normalization deal. Along comes October the 7th. Ever since that day, we've been dealing with this horrible situation. The rape and torture and destruction of 1,200 Jewish people, the response by Israel that's resulted in thousands of people being killed, a lot of terrorists, but a lot of children, a lot of innocent people. There are a lot of photos being presented. I want to introduce 2 photos, unanimous consent if I may. This is a photo of Hiroshima, 2 photos actually. This is what happens when you drop a nuclear weapon on people. It's not good. Now, why did we do that? After Pearl Harbor, we and
fresh hell, dude. Look at all the other bad stuff that we did. That was maybe kind of unjustifiable when you think about it. Well, no, I'm going to present it as a good thing.
And we're able to do that. Out of the ashes of that terrible, horrible war, we now have 2 democracies. Japan and Germany are good allies of the United States. They're productive members of the international community. It took a generation plus to change the radicalization of the German population through the Nazis, and the same in Imperial Japan. What will happen is if we can find normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel, there will be hope for the Palestinians I have not seen before. Those who want a two-state solution, we got to sit down and talk about how you do that after October the 7th. But I do believe without resolving the Palestinian issue where the Palestinian people have a hopeful life versus a glorious death, we'll never move forward. I really do believe after...
Like, this is 10 million times worse than anything I could have ever said about Israel. Like, he is saying we delivered democracy to Japan after we fucking, bombed them with nukes. And Israel has a right to nuke Gaza into submission and therefore create democracy in a similar fashion. And that in and of itself, especially in defense of Israel's ongoing genocide, is so incredibly inhumane, like directly. This is what I've always said. Like, when I talked about America deserving 9/11, when I referenced like blowback and how we brought it upon ourselves and how we continue to do similar things, and who knows how that will play itself out. A lot of people were shocked at this sentiment that I was expressing. And yet, even at that time, I said the exact same things. I was like, listen, if a congressperson could just advocate to glass Iran, nuke Tehran in its entirety, and not a single person will look at that and go, that's a little crazy. People, you can get away with saying anything and everything you want against America's foreign adversaries that you have declared are subhuman, less than human, dehumanized, barbaric monsters that deserve only death. Okay? That's it.
That protects Saudi Arabia, a defense agreement with the United States, so they'll be in our column and they will have an antidote to Iranian aggression. And can we, as a part of that, create a political horizon for the Palestinians to have hope where there is despair? Yes, we can. But now's not the time to send this signal. This signal will be seen by the enemies of Israel and the enemies of peace as if they just stick with it, they will win. If you want peace, you have to destroy those who hate peace. This is not a BB problem. This is a problem where their Islamic terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, want to kill all the Jews, not just BB. Now, why do they want to do that? They're religious Nazis. I don't know why Hitler wanted to kill all the Jews, but he did. So the Ayatollah has a couple things in mind. The purification of Islam, which means that Sunni Islam will bend to his will. If you don't believe me, ask the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. The other goal is to destroy the Jewish state and to drive us out of the Mideast. The religious doctrine of the Shiites in charge compel them to kill all the Jews. It's a commandment from God. Here's what I know. That's not what Islam teaches most Muslims, but they believe it. And when we ignored Hitler, we did so not only at our own peril, but the peril of millions of people. What have I learned from history? When someone threatens to kill you because you're of a particular race or religion, you should take that seriously. So how do we end this conflict?
What a fucking
we end this
nonsensical
conflict with the
statement.
complete decimation of Hamas, a plan for the day after that will replace Hamas in Gaza, reform the PA, try to get a ceasefire in Lebanon, and reduce the impact that Hezbollah has on the Lebanese people. All of the Shiite, Iranian-backed militia have as their goal disruption, upheaval, and tyranny. They want to control the region and remake it in their own image. Look what they're doing in Syria, look what they're doing in Yemen, look what they're doing in Lebanon. We have a historic opportunity here to give Israel what they need to finish the war they can't afford to lose, come up with a day-after plan that would replace Hamas with a better life, try to get Lebanon in a better space, and build on the Abraham Accords. This effort by my colleagues undercuts all of that. You have every right to say anything you want to say in this body, but I've been there a lot, and none of you have gone with me. Making peace is hard. We haven't done this together. I've been with Senator Van Hollen to Israel. I've been to Senator Van Hollen before in the region. I think he wants to help the Palestinians, and I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I just think there's an opportunity here, and it's not about Bibi, folks. It's about a strain of Islam that will kill every Jew, including Bibi, and come after us unless they're defeated.
Okay, I can't do this anymore. Is Graham literally calling Bernie less of a Jew for not going to Israel 8 times in 1 year? I mean, dude, the mind of a Christian Zionist, man, it's impossible to fucking contend with any number of different insane things that they say. Yes, Christian Zionists so consistently consider themselves to be better Jews than like straightforward, lifelong Jewish people that are practicing the faith, Reform Jews, Reconstructionist Jews, people who are anti-Zionist in general. They literally will routinely fucking outflank Jewish people and then claim that they're not truly Jewish, which is also, very anti-Semitic. 2000s era Islamophobia is so back. Oh yeah, here. For the past year, the U.S. Congress has overwhelmingly stood behind the bipartisan support for Israel's genocidal war against Gaza, spearheaded by the Biden administration. Here, Senator Thune is basically saying he wants 0 dissenting voices on the policy emanating from Congress.
Well,
I'm so glad that, the adults are in charge on the Republican Party.
13 months now since Hamas terrorists waged war against Israel. And for
Maybe my naysayers will no longer get mad at me for laughing at this statement now. You know what I mean? They're like, I can't believe you were... I wasn't even fucking... Turns out I never had actually seen the clip of me like laughing at Kamala Harris. I wasn't even laughing. I was fucking cringing. I didn't realize that that's how they had to like frame this situation.
the past year plus, Democrats have struggled to support our ally Israel and has literally fractured the Democrat Party. For example, we are expecting tomorrow Senator Sanders to offer a resolution denying lethal aid to Israel. The refusal to have our allies back and the hesitation to call out anti-Semitism in our own country has consequences. It enables bad behavior and bad actors around the world, and it encourages others to abandon Israel in their time of need. Now you have the International Criminal Court, or the ICC, and its prosecutor pursuing warrants against Israeli officials. That is outrageous, and it is unlawful. The ICC rogue actions are a threat to our ally Israel, and left unchecked, it could pose a threat to America in the future. I am calling on Leader Schumer to bring a bill to the floor sanctioning the ICC, which the House has already passed on a bipartisan basis. And if he refuses to act, our Senate Republican majority next year will. We will stand with Israel and make this and other supportive legislation a top priority in the next Congress. So to our allies in Israel and to the Jewish people around the world, my message to you is this: reinforcements are on the way. Senate Republicans reclaim the majority in 6 weeks, and when we do, we will make clear that the United States Congress stands squarely in Israel's corner, and we will help the Trump-Vance administration defend Israel and promote peace in the region.
Top priority, America First Party, yeah. The Republican critique of Biden's full spectrum support for Israel's war of annihilation is largely that the rhetoric has not been bloodthirsty enough. Biden has been one of the staunchest U.S. supporters of Israel in the past 50 years, and the GOP knows this very well. This action led by Sanders is a worthwhile, though narrowly focused and largely symbolic effort. The reality is that it's too little too late. Gaza has been decimated in a genocidal war facilitated by the Biden administration with Democratic support. And even then, this largely symbolic act is still being viciously combated by the Democratic Party. Remember what they care about, okay? And I will always repeat this. I will always reiterate this. You need to understand something. This is something that the overwhelming majority of the American public wants, okay? The overwhelming majority of the American public wants this, okay? They want to put an end to the endless missile barrage that the endless amounts of weapons that we are sending to Israel so they can burn children in fucking tents. Okay? And yet Congress is openly at odds with the democratic process, with the wants and wishes of the public, and has actively suppressed any sort of political dissent, no matter how gentle that political dissent is. They have actively smeared anyone that criticizes Israel as vicious anti-Semites that are funded by Hamas and funded by Iran. And it's crazy how little of a dent that has made. It doesn't matter. It does not matter even a little bit.
現在係啊，風呀風東風味，是做開呀是毛不都飛，看看到我們的職業版美，這裡本身當。